and international terrorism have to be approached in the context of improved resource management. And indeed, we're increasingly seeing the scope for using land restoration and the practices of being able to build productivity in the drylands through EverGreen Grazing Systems may be a window by which we can approach conflict resolution and peace building perhaps more effectively than has been the case in the past. Third, global restoration efforts should involve EverGreen Grazing Systems for land restoration and food security, and these partnerships at the global level, such as the World Partnership on Sustainable Pastoralism that I mentioned, are engaged around the globe and could be mobilized for, in fact, engaging in these kinds of management approaches and partnering on the research, partnering on the development, the action programs on the ground that give more experience and build more models that can be spread in the coming years. Fourth, these will require, in my view, setting realistic but ambitious targets and then carefully monitoring the progress of those targets. Targets have proven to be an excellent way in which countries could voluntarily commit through their nationally determined commitments to the Climate Change Convention. Commitments that now are able to mobilize a global approach to climate change and carbon neutrality in the future. The same thing provided the basis for the rapid buildup of momentum in Africa along the AFR 100. And we have seen the evidence of the enormous amount of commitment and enthusiasm that African countries have shown to making commitments which are domestic and voluntary, but yet are strong formal commitments to the African community that they will be dealing with these efforts. And pastoral systems and pastoral components of those targets will be very, very essential. The tools that are available now for monitoring tree cover in pastoral areas have been well developed and are simplified to the point where hundreds of non-specialists are beginning to be trained and to utilize these approaches. One is called Collect Earth, which has a website developed by FAO based on the very simple technology for counting tree density and tree cover on agricultural and pastoral areas that was developed by the U.S. Geological Survey. So now, in fact, we have tools that are free to use on the web for crowdsourcing and for monitoring the advance in tree cover that will occur with the application of better grazing management systems. And finally, these efforts will require a spirit of cross-sectoral collaboration and goodwill. This is collaboration among the ministries responsible for livestock, agriculture, environment, and natural resources, and goodwill among the various agencies and non-governmental organizations that are working at the field level in the agro-pastoral and pastoral areas. Goodwill and collaboration from government to the NGO community will be essential in carrying this forward. After all, we have seen some very good experiences at a very large scale in Africa that give us the confidence to believe that these kinds of models can be adapted and used on a much wider scale. And although I cannot join you today for the discussions on this topic of building partnerships in EverGreen systems, EverGreen Grazing Systems, I do look forward to learning more about the outcomes of the conversation and to be able to help push forward this agenda in the coming weeks and months. Well, once again, Shibu, thank you for developing this session, and I hope that the discussions that proceed from